Reb Kanina ben Antigonio says if it has a wart on its eye, or on the bone of its foreleg or hind leg is notched, or the bone in its mouth is split, or one eye is large and the other one is small, one ear is visibly large, the other one is small, it is a blemish. If not, it must be measured. Rabbi Yehuda also said if one of the testicles is twice the size of the other, but the sages did not and concur with him. If a calf's tail does not reach the knee joint, this Chachamim said the growth of all its calves is in this manner. As long as they grow, they stretch out. Concerning which knee joint did they speak, Kanina ben Antigonio said concerning the knee joint that is in the middle of the thigh. By reason of these blemishes, a Bechor may be slaughtered, and unfit consecrated animals may be redeemed because of them. On account of the following blemishes, one may not slaughter either in the temple or in the province: white flecks or water that is not permanent, or black back teeth that were notched but were not uprooted, or an animal that has scabs or wart or boils, or an aged animal, a sick one emitting an offensive odor, one with a sin was committed, or that killed a person by the testimony of one witness or by confession of the owner, an animal of undetermined gender, or an androgynous animal. One may not slaughter these either in the temple or in the provinces. And Rabbi Ishmael says there is no blemish greater than this. The comments say it is not a Bechor and it may be sheared and worked with.
Okay, and that is the halacha, as the Chachamim say, that it's a hermaphrodite doesn't even come into the parsha of Bechor, so it's not. So it's got to be because Bechor has to be a male, an unqualified male. Right. So we're on Perek Zayin, yeah. Momin Elu. Okay, so everything that we've mentioned up until now with animals, that's considered a mum. Bein kvuin, bein ovrin, whether it's a temporary or a permanent mum. Poslin ba'adam, they also affect people. If it's the analogous mum, and where does a mum affect a person? Is a kohen, isn't it, from disqualifying a kohen from the avodah. Yosar aleihin ba'adam, but the kohen has got more things that also disqualify him. Okay, so now we have a kilon. A kilon, the commentary says, is somebody whose head is sharp, is sharp at the top and wide at the bottom. So like his head goes down like that. Instead of being straight, his head goes that way. Okay, that's a kilon. Okay, and then there's the laftan, is the turnip shaped head, is the opposite, whose head goes up like that. Okay, makaban is somebody whose head is hammer shaped, which is his head, his forehead sticks out, and and the neck of his and the back of his neck goes back. So it's like he's got a parallelogram. If you look at him in profile, his head goes like that with his head sticking out, but and the back of his head goes back as well. So it's and that is also considered a mum. Shirosha shakua, if he doesn't have a neck, basically his head is or his head is slanted in front of him, like in a diagonal,
or his head is sunken. Huh? They say his head is sunken.
And interestingly, I actually have a guy like this who works in my office. It was it was the weirdest thing for me to see at first. Before I had to take a while to get used to him, because he doesn't have a visible neck. It's yeah, it's a strange deformation. Anyway, shkifas. The shkifas is where his head does not stick out at the back. You've got a natural sort of bulge at the back of your skull. So shkifas is somebody whose head goes straight down like that, yeah, over there, instead of having that bulge. Yeah, bale chatoteres, that's a hunchback. Rabbi Yehuda machshir v'chachamim poslin. So Rabbi Yehuda says it's fine. A hunchback is not a mum, but chachamim say it is a mum, and halach is like the chachamim. Just to clarify, this is only if there's bone. If there is bone in the hunch, then even Rabbi Yehuda agrees. But if he's just got like a fleshy lump on his back, that's the machlokes between them. Okay. Hakereach, a bald person. Okay, and we're going to see this is not really a full-on bald, like your everyday bald person, as we'll see. Ezu kareach, how bald does he have to be disqualify from the service? Kol she'en lo shita shel se'ar makeves me'ozin le'ozin. So if he at least has a stripe of hair around the back of his head, which is like the maximum that normal male pattern baldness gets to, is to, you still have a stripe of hair at the back, and that's normal. That's not a mum. We're talking about where he has alopecia all over, and he literally his hair is all fallen out, and he doesn't even have any hair growing at the back of his head. That's called a mum.
Some people cut their hair like that, where they have nothing.
Right, but that's if you shave your hair, that's a different story. Okay. You probably, if you had a Kohen who had cut his hair like that, they'd probably want him to grow it back before he'd be allowed to do the avodah. The im yesh lo hareze kasher. So if he's got that stripe of hair, it's fine. Ein lo gvinim, if he doesn't have eyebrows. Ein lo ela gvin echad, or if he's got a unibrow. Right, the unibrow, the thick one that grows all the way across the bridge of the nose. Who gives
I was one eyebrow. When you said unibrow, I was thinking of one. Like had one eyebrow and didn't have it on the other side.
Yeah, so that's not a normal thing to have only one and the other one's fallen out. What they're talking about is the unibrow. Okay, and that says the Tanakama, that's called the gibein. That's in the Torah when it says that's a psul that a kohen cannot serve with. Rabbi Dosa Omer Kol Shegavinav Shochbin. Now that's talking about the term gibein is talking about somebody whose eyebrows are so long that they rest on his eyelids. And that's a mum. And Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus Omer Kol Mi Sheyesh Shnei Gabai Moshtei Shidraos. No, he says gibein is not talking about your eyebrows; it's talking about your spine. And it's if he's got like a double spine, like it looks like he's got two backs.
It says here not that he actually has two spines, for such a person cannot live. The intention is that his spine is crooked, causing it to appear as if he looks like he has two backs and two spines.
Right. Okay. So it might be a scoliosis kind of thing. Okay. Hacharum pasul. Okay, so the term charum that's also pasul in a kohen. The Mishna immediately says, "Oh, well, what is a charum?" Hakochel shtei einav ka'achas. If he could take a mascara pencil and go and draw one line from one eye to the other without going over the ridge in his nose. So that's the kind of look that you get in people with Down syndrome, with a very flat nose that doesn't interfere between the eyes. So that is considered mum by a kohen. Eino achas lemala, eino achas lemata. His one eye is higher than the other. Or eino achas lemata.
Verse is so low.
Sorry, I just lost my place in the Mishnah. Just give me a sec. I beg your pardon. I missed. Okay, sorry, I skipped a case. If his eyes are noticeably higher than they are on a regular person, or if they're both too low, or he's got one eye higher than the other. Excuse me. Or if you can see if his eyes are, this is an interesting form of cross-eyism where his one eye is looking forward and the other eye is looking up.
Right.
Okay.
I'm very uncomfortable when I see a person who has that, because I'm not exactly sure where to look.
Right.
It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I've also got my previous boss actually had a pitzul, his one eye pointed away from the other one. I know it's easy if somebody's got a slight squint, but if somebody's got one eye that points a little bit further away, that's very difficult. And like this was talking about my boss, and he was like, he's actually literally the best boss I've ever had. And he was, but like I had to learn. Okay, I've got to look at his right eye, because like sometimes he'd be talking to a room full of people, and I was watching the wrong eye, and he's asking me a question, and I'm like thinking he's looking at somebody else. Mm. Anyways, someone who closes his eyes when he's in daylight. In other words, he's very sensitive, so sensitive to daylight that he can't open his eyes. Zugdos is a kind of a Greek portmanteau. He's got a pair of eyes that is zugdos. Dos in Greek is two. So zug is a pair and dos is two. So and he's got odd colored eyes.
Okay. He said this one says one who has unmatched limbs.
Unmatched limbs. Interesting. I thought this was his Mishain of Einan Shavos.
There's one who first before that is one who cannot bear the sun.
Yeah.
This one you're talking about, it says one who has unmatched limbs or watery eyes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you have terms like this, you're going to have machlokas, I guess, about what the exact term is, but it's something is unmatched. And Kahati's going with the explanation that it's his eyes are unmatched, one brown, one blue. But Siran, that is where his eyes stream with tears all the time. And yeah, that particular affliction runs in my family. Unfortunately, my grandmother Aliyah Shalom and Tibad al-Chaim, my mother, all have this thing where the tear ducts get blocked and their eyes tend to stream with tears. Anyways, that those are considered mumim in kohenim. B'shinashu risei einav. And what if his eyelashes have mostly fallen out? That's called pasol mipnei maris ayin. So it's not a Torah psul, but because maris ayin, people look at it and it looks a little strange. Chachamim said, okay, we're going to add that to the list. However, if all of his eyelashes have fallen out, that actually is a psul d'oraisa. But this is talking that, and that's called a full mum. This is talking about where too much of his lashes have fallen out, then a chacham will say, no, that's too much. Okay, back to Daled Hay.
If one takes payment for inspecting Bechoros, we do not slaughter them by his sanction unless he is an expert like Ayala Yavna, whose sage is permitted to take 4 issues for each small livestock and 6 issues for livestock, whether unblemished or blemished. If one takes payment for judging, his decisions are void. For testifying, his testimonies are void. For sprinkling or for mixing purification water, his water is like cave water, and his ashes are like ordinary ashes. If he was a Kohen and he contaminated him by eating his truma, he may give him to eat, drink, and to anoint himself. If he was an old man, he may give him a donkey upon which to ride, and he may give him his pay like a laborer. If one is suspected of Bekor violations, we may not purchase from him either venison or untanned hides. If Eliezer says we may purchase from him hides of females, we may also not purchase from him wool that is bleached of its dirt, but we may purchase from him thread and garments.
Right, Chulin, base. Oh, yeah.
If one slaughters 2 heads at once, his slaughtering is valid. If two hold a knife and slaughter, even if one is above and one is below, their slaughtering is valid. If he severed his head with 1 stroke, it is invalid. If he was slaughtering and severed the head with 1 stroke, knife measures the width of the neck, it is valid. If he was slaughtering and severed 2 heads with 1 stroke, if the knife measures the width of 1 neck, it's valid. When does this ruling apply? Only when he made a forward stroke but not a backward stroke, or if he made a backward stroke but not a forward stroke. But if he made a forward stroke and a backward stroke, however short it was, even with a scalpel, it is valid. If a knife fell and slaughtered, even though it's slaughtered in the normal fashion, it's invalid, as it is stated, and you shall slaughter, and you shall eat. What you slaughter, you may eat. If the knife fell and he picked it up, or if his clothes fell and he picked them up, or if he sharpened the knife and became fatigued, and his companions came and slaughtered, if he paused as long as it takes to slaughter, it is invalid. And Reb Shimon says, if he paused as long as it takes to examine. If one severed the esophagus and tore the trachea, or if he severed the trachea and tore the esophagus, or he severed one of them and waited until the animal died, or if he thrust the knife under the second organ and cut it, Yeshivav said it is nevela. Rabbi Akiva says it is trefer. Rabbi Shiva says that general rule in the name of Rabbi Yeshua, whatever became unfit through the slaughtering is nevela. Whatever is slaughtered properly, but something has caused it to become unfit, is trefer. Rabbi Akiva admitted to him. Okay. Losing my voice here. Avos. Okay, Dalet Tet. Rabbi Yonasan says, whoever fulfills the Torah despite poverty will ultimately fulfill in it wealth. But whoever neglects the Torah because of wealth will ultimately neglect it in poverty. Rabbi Meir says, limit your business activities and engage in Torah study. Be of humble spirit before every person. If you should neglect the study of Torah, you will be confronted with many causes of neglect. But if you labor in the Torah, it has ample rewards to give you. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, he who fulfills even a single mitzvah requires for himself a single advocate. Now he who commits even a single transgression requires for himself a single accuser. Repentance and good deeds are like a shield against misfortune. Yochanan Sandler says, every assembly that is dedicated for the sake of heaven will endure, but one that is not for the sake of heaven will not endure. Okay. And we are going to get it. If one divorces his wife because she is a lonus, Rabbi Yehuda says he may not take her back, but the Kachavim say he may take her back. If she was married to another and had children from him and she demands for ketubah, Rabbi Yehuda says to her, your silence is better for you than your speech.
Right, because if she speaks up, she can get herself into a problem where children suddenly become mamzerian.
If one sells himself and his children to a Gentile, he is not to be redeemed, but the children are to be redeemed after the death of their father. One who sells his field to a Gentile must buy and bring first fruits from it, and for the sake of the general good. Victims of damages are paid by assessing for them the superior fields, lenders with fields of medium quality, and a woman's ketubah, and with fields of the poorest quality. But Meir says also a woman's ketubah is paid with fields of medium quality. Okay. Shabbos. One who builds, how much must he build to be liable? One who builds any amount, one who chisels a stone, strikes with a hammer or with an adze or drills with any amount is liable. This is the rule. Anyone who works and his work endures on Sabbath is liable. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says anyone who strikes with a sledgehammer on the anvil while working is liable, since he is as one who improves the work. One who plows any amount, one who weeds or prunes dry branches or prunes young shoots in any amount is liable. And one who gathers wood, if his intent is to effect an improvement, he is liable for any amount. If his intent is for kindling, he is liable for the amount of wood required to cook an easily cooked egg. One who gathers grasses, if his intent to effect improvement, he is liable for any amount. If his intent for animal fodder, he is liable for as much as a kid's mouthful. One who writes two letters, whether with his right hand or his left, whether with one character or two characters, whether with two inks or any language, he is liable. Rabbi Yossi says, they declared writing two letters liable only because of marking. But thus would they write on the boards of the Mishkan to know which ones were mates. Rabbi Yehuda ben Nasi said we find a short name, which is part of a long name. Shem from Shimon, or Shmuel, Noah, and Nachor, Dan from Daniel, and God from Gadel. That's it, right?
That's it. And Toros.
Rabbi Yossi says, a tumor uncertainty of beverages with regard to food is rud tame. With regard to utensils, it is rud tahor. How so? If there were two barrels, one tame and one tahor, and he made a dough using one of them, and it is uncertain whether he made it from the tame water or water made from the tahor water. This is an uncertainty concerning beverages, which with regard to food is rud tame, but with regard to utensils is rud tahor. With uncertainty regarding tumor of hands, with regard to to acquiring tuma, to conveying tuma, and to becoming tuma is deemed tahor. As uncertainty in a public domain is deemed tahor. Uncertainty concerning rabbinical edicts, if one ate tamei foods or drank tamei beverages, or if one's head and a greater part of his body enters into drawing water, or that three lugim of drawing water fell on one's head and the greater part of his body, the uncertainty is deemed tahor. But regarding something which is an avatuma, the rabbinic enactment is certainty is deemed tamei. An uncertainty pertaining to kulam, this refers to the tahara of Baruchas. Uncertainty concerning seratim, it is judged according to the status at the time of discovery. And uncertainty concerning the afflictions of taharas, saras at the outset is deemed tahor, as long as the one afflicted has not been confirmed to be tamei. But once he has been confirmed to be tamei, an uncertainty is deemed tamei. And uncertainty concerning naziris is permitted. And an uncertainty concerning firstborns, whether human firstborns or animal firstborns, whether non-kosher or kosher, is decided leniently, for the burden of proof is on the one who seeks to exact property from his fellow.
Right, and we're done, and I'm on my way.
Okay, have a great day. Enjoy.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.